because you are listening to Real Talk Radio, where the talk gets real. Darkside Review, Collision in Korea.
Welcome everybody to Real Talk Radio. This is your boy Justin JLB, and of course, this is Real Talk Wrestling, where we are going to talk about Dark Side of the Ring, Collision in Korea, and boy, oh golly, is there a lot to talk about. I, of course, am not alone. I am with my partner in wrestling crime, Mike. How goes it? Good?
Yeah, Mike Tsintziras here. Yeah, this was definitely a fucked up episode of Dark Side of the Ring. I mean, if you think about it, it was the time that WCW's was like below WWE, just wanted to show them that they can outdo wrestling a certain way. But it was also the same times as USA was having beef with North Korea at the same times. That's why it was a very huge event, very controversial as well.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they're still having beef with North Korea to an extent. They, North Korea has still isolated themselves from everyone else. But yes, essentially, Mr. Tony Anoki. First of all, I didn't realize this guy was like a politician dude, and I knew he was a big star and all that in Japan, but I didn't realize he was like this politician dude, and he wanted to run.
Well, yeah, I only found out about that because I read a lot of like books involving the history. And a lot of times Antonio Anoki in those books, because of the very first MMA fight was him versus Muhammad Ali in one of his ranks, is probably one of the most boring ones as well. And yeah, because they actually had like pro wrestling versus boxing. So Antonio Anoki was in those books as well, and they really highly meant the fact that pretty much like, yeah, he was going in politics as well. It was right after, during, and after his wrestling.
Yeah, that's it. And along with that, like, well, you know what? So we kind of run it down, but we're not going to do that this time. I would actually like to get to kind of what is more your most messed up story you've heard about what went on during this collision in Korea. What was your go-to?
Yeah. Well, definitely, first of all, taking their passport when they got there.
Yeah, pretty messed up. Them mentioning that, look, they didn't even like us there. Like, you can tell that those officers hated our guts.
And it's not like, for example, it'd be, okay, this is like, I'm feeling like scared and I want to get out. You can't even leave at that point because they have your passports. So,
yeah, I would have been terrified.
Let's say, for example, let's say your wife's calling you she had a heart attack or something to visit, or like your daughter's like ill. You can't just turn around and go home. They have your passport.
That's it. Because then you had to make sure you had to do the show. So that was kind of the
not
thing.
Only another thing that also, not only the wrestler, the audience had to do. That's another was
right. That is, I mean, it's crazy, but I guess I understand it. It's a communist country. Obviously, the guy rules and runs everything. I guess it was Kim Jong. No, it was his father at the time who was running things. And so, you know, obviously, same family, same kind of traits. They rule everything. And it's still crazy. There was over 190,000 people at the stadium who literally were forced there.
Yeah, but one thing I really liked is you said that he's like, one thing I could always say I have over Hogan is I wrestled in front of 189,000 people in one night.
Granted,
2 nights back to back.
And look, granted, that is fair, but you also had people not even responding, which I found crazy.
Because here's the thing, like, one of my friends told me in Japan, if you watch a wrestling match, the first few minutes are very quiet, and it's a different thing. They're doing that as a sign of respect to the wrestlers. But this one, quiet the entire time because they have no idea what the hell they're watching.
But then why do you go crazy over Tony Anoki?
Because he already had the credibility down there. He was almost like the hometown boy because of his good friend Dozan that got murdered as well. He was North Korean. He was Korean, and he's like trying to hide his Korean heritage from Japan because that's the time that they were killing each other.
Wasn't it his father who had died because he was Korean, North Korean? They found out he was North Korean?
No, it was his good friend.
But it had to have been a family heritage sort of ordeal. because
no, they were very close because they had ties. That's why
oh,
Antonio Inoki,
okay.
yeah, it was because he had ties with him that he was seen as Korean. So.
Oh, okay. Misunderstood that one
So
there.
so that's why he was like considered a hometown boy down there because he had ties.
But I mean, if they still never watched wrestling, you would think they would still be kind of shocked at what they're seeing. I found it so weird.
But
like,
they didn't know what to think about Ric Flair either.
well, I mean, to be fair, if I didn't know anything about wrestling and I saw some old guy with bleached hair and a purple
Sequins
coat,
robe, yeah.
yeah, like I'd be kind of like, okay, bro, you supposed to be intimidating? What am I looking at here? You know?
Another thing was like that this showed was like how much of a badass Scorpio.
Yeah, right. That most entertaining of anyone there. So you had Scott Norton that was there. Whatever, Scott Norton was cool. You had
Eric Bischoff was always entertaining.
Yeah, Eric Bischoff is just chill. Says it like it is. You of course had a Tony Anoki talk. You had someone else.
Sonny Ono.
Sonny Ono, of course. You also had the journalist from CNN. I forgot the guy's name, but he was basically doing the take on, obviously, the show, the Collision in Korea event, which was obviously a partnership between NJPW and WCW. And I feel like that was it.
Yeah. Well, and Too Cold Scorpio, as you're saying.
Well, of course, yeah.
My good friend who, want to give a shout out to him. He actually did a great job in this, and we're the independent scene in wrestling down here. So shout out to him, and definitely want him to get his take on it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Definitely be down if you wanted to do like another kind of more in-depth talk on that or on other things that, other crazy stories. I found how I was kind of shocked how crazy he went with talking about the whole Hawk situation. So they apparently had a little beef beforehand, right before they ended up going.
Yeah, I just want to mention quick, it seems like he had no issue talking about this.
No, none. He was just like, and I granted, I guarantee you most likely that for sure that this would have been way after Hawk had died. Like, he had no problem, just talking about, he's not talking ill will of the dead there, he's just talking about the situation.
Yeah,
so,
and we'll talk about this situation, like, pretty much, like, Scorpio was a little pissed off about how he got fired first time because of Ric Flair. And he's like, at that point, Hawk and Flair were sitting with each other on the bus. And apparently he said something in regards to calling the Flair a pussy. And apparently Hawk took that to heart and challenged him. And then all of a sudden, apparently Scorpio just hit him hard. And apparently they were wrestling on the ground. Apparently Scorpio just had a finger in the eye. And it almost took his eye out. I was actually pushed the eye out of the socket and stuff. But one thing I just want to mention about this, actually, because they were fighting during this, but I just want to put something together. They're wrestling for isn't wrestling simulated fighting? Simulate fighting to world peace?
Well, I mean, I get where you're going at. But I mean, at the same time, hey man, if they know who Muhammad Ali is and Muhammad Ali went there, they know who Jesus, I forgot his name. Anoki. They know who Anoki is and whatever. Hey, if you bring them there, because we all know how, I guess it's a family thing, how they love their certain celebrities. Like Kim Jong-un loved Dennis Rodman, right? He would always invite Dennis Rodman there, kind of thing. His father really loved Muhammad Ali. And I guess I don't get how you have or know the people if you kind of isolate everybody with just 3 channels and all of that. I guess if he likes something, he'll broadcast it to his entire region in that regard. But
that's what I want to bring up, the thing you mentioned. Okay, so as I said earlier, I thought it was fucked up that their passport, but that's not the only taken. Like Scott Norton said, his Walkman and all his tapes were taken. They told him he wasn't allowed to have anything American on him. He's like, all these things were confiscated. He's like, Ric Flair was freaking out that they were this stuff. And
for sure.
Yeah, like, so just imagine this. You're stuck in a hotel room where you have entertainment, like pretty much you don't have a Walkman, you don't have your books, and then you turn on the TV and there's only 3 political Korean channels where you don't even understand the language. So he's like, what are you going to do? And at one point, Scott Norton spoke to his wife, and his wife thought he was partying, but he actually said you have no idea what kind of shithole we're in. And then the phone line just cut. And,
right? Like, whoa. Yeah. First of all, why did his wife know? Like, I get it. It was kind of like not a spur of the moment, but how did you not have enough time to pack your stuff and then tell your wife you're bouncing? Like,
Well, afterwards, apparently he couldn't. The moment he said that, people were at his door.
No. I mean, before they went to Korea, though. It's not like, hey, Norton, we're going to North Korea now. You know what I mean? Are you meaning to tell me you didn't have a convo with your wife?
No, his wife knew he was there, but no, like he wasn't able to call her when he was there and speak to her for a little while.
Oh, I was under the impression that she just didn't know where he was at all.
No, she thought like he was
Oh,
partying
okay.
in Korea with the guys, and she didn't know like what kind of.
They couldn't even play pool for crying out loud.
Yeah, and when they tried, like he's like apparently like they got there, Benoit and a bunch of them, they went downstairs to play pool, and during one of the times, like he hit the ball and it went off the table. And by the way, they were being watched at home. So when they went to go play pool, they wanted by military. And the moment the ball hit the ground, that was it. They were able to play pool, and like the one piece of entertainment that they had was taken away from them.
Which I don't get. Like, I guess, you know, if you already hate people and you're really just doing it for, in reality,
you can't listen to music. You can't watch any political channels. You can't talk on the phone. Like Scott Rowley, he said that to his wife. They brought him into an English-speaking guide who told him, "Don't ever speak ill about our country." And he like, "That's it. No more phone calls." Or that's like, I don't know what that meant, but I'm pretty sure. But we all know that.
Right.
And Scorpio actually, because after the first fight, he actually spoke to Hawk and said, he's like, "Hey man, this is stupid. Why we're fighting at this event? We need to be men." And apparently, he got sucker punched by Hawk, and then they went out to dinner. He was sharpening. He decided to keep some stainless steel chopsticks with him. That he was sharpening up to make a shiv out of in a hotel room. Of all people to talk him out of, had to be a person as a killer himself down the line was Chris Benoit. And that was.
I knew you were gonna bring this up. I knew it. Yeah. I'm like, this is right up Mike's aisle or alley.
Well,
yeah.
Chris Benoit is one of my favorite curiosities. So, but yeah, you know, I mean that little dark style wrestling.
Dark side of the ring, you will.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like, the Chris Benoit was really like, that's why it was a 2 parts. But I mean, like, yeah, I mean, it's just the irony of this, of someone to talk somebody out of horrific who ended up doing it himself in a much more horrific way. But I mean, like, yeah, but one thing Chris Benoit did say logic about it, if you end up killing somebody, you're going to spend the rest of your life in.
That's it.
And in jail in Korea, which I mean, I'm not saying jail's a walk in the park in the States, but I'm just jail in Korea must the conditions down there, which were already bad for the regular people there.
That's
imagine the jails.
Well, someone who I'm surprised didn't get brought up to jail was Mr. Eric Bischoff.
Yes, what he
did.
So
Eric Bischoff basically explained that each wrestler kind of had like an attaché, which was someone who kind of was their chaperone, if you will. Aside from the bodyguards, it was kind of their person that would represent that wrestler for North Korea, or that celebrity for North Korea, sort of thing. So Eric Bischoff one day was bored. He says, "You know what? I'm going to go for a run tomorrow morning. I'm going to get up early, and I'm just going to go." So, and he didn't think to call anyone, call his attaché to tell him or anything like that. He just decided to put on his running shoes, put on his little jacket, and go for a jog. So he's explaining as he's going for this jog into the city, I forget the city's name, I just had it there, into the main city, he basically says he's being looked at like he's some like monster, and he's being looked at like in such an evil way that people are kind of terrified. And I think Too Cold Scorpio also was the one that mentioned, like, for some of these people, these are probably like the first time they've ever seen an American kind of thing, or just, you know, anybody not of North Korean. I think it was the cab driver who had mentioned that this is her 7th American that she's ever seen.
No, that was I believe, like his attaché.
His attaché, okay. And yeah, this is the only 7th. The rest have all like died or she never saw again.
So you're the only 7th American that had gunned down.
Right, crazy. Yeah. And then so he does his little run, and then he goes back to the hotel, and his attaché there is waiting for him, and she's just telling him like, "No, what are you doing? You're not supposed to do that." Like
Bischoff
really
Bischoff was legit scared for her life at one point.
No, that's it. And he's like, "Listen, I wasn't scared necessarily for me. I was kind of more scared for her. I didn't want her to get killed or something." Which, I mean, who knows, right? Probably, because I imagine if you're trying to run a country in a certain way that you want, and you're, you know, saying that these people are really bad, you should, you know, almost depicting other cultures as monsters and they're gonna kill you if you ever see them. I imagine the father of Kim Jong Un didn't take too lightly of that, and it's pretty scary stuff. But Eric Bischoff didn't get into a room like Scott Norton did. At least he didn't tell us about it. So
Yeah,
I'm
but
glad he's
yeah,
alive to tell us.
one thing Bischoff mentioned here was he was shocked that the people there were very small in this book, and he wasn't sure if they were shocked about how big he was. Bischoff's not a big guy, but maybe the fact that I was like a little bit bigger than them, they're all seeing a big American guy who's was just running around their country freely. Yeah, I don't know what shocked them about it. Probably the fact that a white man walking through their country.
Yeah, probably a little bit of everything, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he said he saw nobody else running. He's like, because that's the thing when nothing was open, when like everyone's asleep. But he's like, as he was running, and people started to get up and start going to work, and they started to because one thing Scott Norton said was in a car in his cab with Ric Flair on his way down there, and there's 2 lanes of people walking in, and he was like, "Well, look at all these people they're so happy to see us." The cab driver said, "No, they're not happy. They have to be. If they don't go to this show, they're getting a bullet to."
Which is crazy, but I mean, I get it. It's messed up. Communism, you know what I mean?
We don't understand this because we live in a country that's not a communist country. Like
right.
Cuba, North Korea, those places are communist countries. Russia, so they have a lot of like that we understand how people are forced their lives differently. That they're forced to live it by the way the government tells them to live their life. So,
I don't get why you have a stadium where you can fit 100,000 people though.
That don't want to be there.
That don't want to be there. Like what? I was more perplexed on that. I'm like, wait a minute. So you have this crazy stadium. Well, I guess because you force anyone to go and watch whatever you want to watch, and everyone
just so that way you can say, look how many people want to see me.
Yeah, that's valid.
But one thing the wrestlers were saying, Scott Norton said when he was wrestling, was quiet. He was even more quiet, and that's in a stadium with 198,000 people. And he's like, it was just so quiet. And like I hear in Japan, when you wrestle in Japan, the first few minutes are quiet as a sign of respect. But this wasn't that.
Right.
These people were not understanding what was. But they seemed to have like Scott during his match, Scorpio's match. It was all quiet. But apparently during Anoki versus Ric Flair, people have woken up.
But how? Like, how would you have known unless he kind of like made it known to everybody? Hey, you got to cheer for this guy. Like before.
I think that was probably the case.
Okay.
Yeah. With their ticket, it was probably thinking like, yeah, there's going to be somebody named Antonio Anoki. Here's this picture. This is the guy you need to cheer for. And,
or die.
Yeah, and also, and Flair also made him look good as well. But
right.
But I mean, like, I don't think that made a difference if they weren't cheering for anything before. Yeah, but also.
Well, I mean, at the same time, thank God it was Ric Flair as opposed to Hogan, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Hogan was supposed to be the guy, but Hogan was like, "No, brother, I'm not going." Like,
I'm gonna make this one, brother. Yeah, yeah. But thing was, what's called again about also the fact that maybe it's the fact that there's somebody that's also of Asian descent wrestling.
Well, yeah, but they had Japanese wrestlers there though.
It's true.
Was the only one.
Yeah, so was there too. Yeah. But I mean, like, I don't know if like the fact that like they had to have been told apparently. Why would they wake up for that? But. Apparently he pinned him as well. They erupted as well. So
that's it. And then of course it was really all just I don't know why Antonio Anoki thought anything different on, I guess kudos for trying, but I don't know why he would have thought that things would have changed, especially when you got there and they weren't so necessarily accommodating, taking your passports away, doing this, threatening Scott Norton. Maybe Antonio Anoki and Muhammad Ali were treated very differently.
Yeah, well, like they both have sense of politics as well. But I mean, one thing that I really found interesting that was actually one of the wrestler positive experiences that they had was apparently before their show they were invited to go to a temple before with Muhammad Ali, and Scott Norton recalls Muhammad Ali just running up the steps and then just shadowboxing at the top of the temple, and the wrestlers just stared in awe. They're like, he's just dancing, he's just doing all the Ali stuff, and he's like, we're the only people in the world in this. And they said like they were just amazed. Like Scorpio said that just ripped right there.
For sure.
If anyone who likes the story of boxing or knows Muhammad Ali's story, anything about like a historic moment like that like would say like that's something that like pretty much like you would just feel like
Well, I mean, look, Muhammad Ali is a world-renowned figure in in boxing as well as in activism. This guy has done a lot in many very different levels. So, I mean, that's one thing you certainly can't take away from anybody. All that trip, you're in this crazy, dangerous place, but at the same time, at least you got to see Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean? Scott Norton even mentioned like Muhammad Ali said he liked how he wrestled out there and stuff, and Scott Norton was just all like, "Oh my god," you know what I mean?
yeah, like hearing that from like, the great,
The greatest. That's what I was able to find the Collision in Korea entire event.
yeah, I saw it on. Yeah, I found it right after I watched it. This was like the next thing that was a suggested thing to watch, pretty much.
So did you notice if Muhammad Ali actually did anything on the show?
No, I think he was just a special guest.
Just a special guy. Okay, because I was like, why wasn't he part of the show? Or okay.
Special guest, like don't forget, Yet Parkin Lee can't. It's not full.
Well, no, I mean not wrestle or do anything crazy, but I don't know, talk or something like that. And that was another thing too. I honestly didn't realize. Maybe I should have, but I didn't realize Muhammad Ali had Parkinson's so early on. I thought it was years after, like years and years after he finished boxing. But so that was a little bit of a shock to me. But that's on me, I guess.
That's another reason why it looks so impressive, his shadow boxing.
Yeah, that's it. So, that's really, I'm, just really the shocking thing of just all the fights between Too Cold Scorpio and Hawk were just amazing to me. And then the fact, even after the show, right? He was like, hey, listen, like, you want to go, we'll go. And Hawk was just like, listen, bro, I didn't have any of my pills with me. I was very frustrated. Like, it's fine. And he's like, oh, no, okay, but when we get to Japan, if you want to go, let me know. I'm down. Because he still had the chopsticks, knives there.
He thought his chopstick shivs.
Yeah, but he ultimately said that, listen, first of all, they arrived to North Korea in like this small plane, and they were able to see like North Korea with the bombs pointing to South Korea and South Korea pointing there over. And he's like, that must have been a crazy, you know what I mean? Because obviously they've been in war for quite some time now.
Yeah, because they said they had to go in some like really like crappy lane on their way in, and but like one thing that was Ric Flair's apparently the moment that he landed in Japan, he got his hands and knees kissed the pavement.
Yeah, you got to be grateful. I mean, although it's Japan, you got to be grateful for non-communist countries, and there's obviously a lot of them, and anyone could have easily just have not made it back. I was terrified for all of them. Terrified. Thankfully,
reminds me of when they like the WWE guys were stuck in Abu Dhabi. I mean, not Abu Dhabi, in Saudi Arabia.
In Saudi Arabia. Well, I mean that we still don't technically know the full-on story.
Probably never will.
Probably never will. No, at least not until 2027. So we have a while, since they still have a contract until then. But yeah, this to me, this episode was good. Like, it was interesting. I mean, it's only 4 days, right?
Actually, maybe there'll be a Darkside about
probably not for quite some time though.
Oh yeah,
because
that contract's up. Yeah.
So that contract's up. So maybe when it's like season 6 or something, if it makes it that long. Which I have no regrets that I won't. It will definitely I don't know. This episode was good. It's just, I feel like Nick Gage was better. Maybe even the Brian Pillman one was better too. This to me was fun. It was just more like.
But this was an event like about like a wrestler in particular. That's probably why.
That too, and maybe like you could have added a little something else. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt like it felt like it shouldn't have been a whole episode.
Yeah.
So fun to hear about this, considering I knew nothing about this. Originally, when I heard Collision in Korea, I thought it was like, I don't know, something about an earthquake that happened while they were wrestling or something. I knew nothing about this at all. Well, this is way back when I first heard it.
Yeah.
But, it was still pretty fun. A lot of crazy things certainly happened. And, we all kind of maybe know certain little things here and there of how bad North Korea would be, sort of ordeal. But very interesting to have firsthand from actual wrestlers who were there and lived to tell about it. I imagine there's probably still stuff they didn't even want to.
Yeah, or that they
Just
could.
well, I mean, why couldn't you, though?
Well,
Too,
maybe because
right?
of like they were bound by what they signed thing when they were there.
Even if they did, it's not a biting. No
Yeah,
matter if you
true.
sign anything in North Korea, it won't necessarily. But I guess whatever, just to avoid any. I'm sure there's stuff that was still kept hush hush.
Yeah.
But definitely still pretty revealing in that regard. And I would have been so curious if Hogan actually went, how much differently that would have been. Because I imagine they would have known Hogan.
Yeah, but Hogan did the job a few times. I'd probably say, oh, it's my first time here, brother. I can't lose first time here. Brother.
Oh, well, I mean, I was more referring to like in terms of the treatment. Like maybe Hogan would have been regarded as, someone
Oh, like
like
a royalty type thing.
royalty, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know if they would know much of Hogan, but I imagine they would. If you know Ali, like Hogan is the Ali of wrestling. You know what I mean? If you're gonna know a name in boxing, you're gonna know Muhammad Ali. If you're gonna know a name in wrestling, chances are you're gonna know Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, but I mean at the same time they're not broadcast.
Oh, that's true. It's very American propaganda. I don't know, but maybe the father liked him or something. Then again, we still hear things about North Korea today that they don't want to be westernized. They got rid of skinny jeans and something else they're no longer allowed to wear in North Korea. So they're still very much afraid of the Western culture in that regard, which, obviously he wants to keep, I guess his people at bay. But crazy, crazy stories from wrestlers who have felt it firsthand. And I'm also kind of interested to hear like Dennis Rodman's take on when he's there. You know what I mean? Since you were loved so much by the Emperor, how did you get treated in North Korea? Were you always followed
One
around?
person had documented Rodman's life. This guy, he from his basketball stories, his wrestling stories. Where I don't know if you've known this, but it was actually a show. I think it might have been called. A lot of people refer to as called Rodman Down Under. It was like a federation did a show one night, and it was like the main event. I think was Mr. Dennis Rodman in a street fight.
What?
Yeah, so like yeah, they even event all around started, and yeah, so I mean like, and as well like his outings in North Korea, like Dennis Rodman's life is definitely yeah. If they did a documentary, I would definitely see that.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a very interesting dude, just in terms of, from what we saw with the MJ doc on Netflix. You know what I mean, with the Last Dance and all that.
And Rodman's someone who's like he doesn't have this not flashy, he doesn't have this star power as Hulk Hogan, but he's more of a, he's had some crazy parties as well. So that's someone that like this pretty much like more of a behind the scenes for him. Like what is Michael Jordan? That was more shocking. Rodman, you'd be shocked.
No, that's it. And based on the little stuff they did tell about Rodman in that documentary, pretty freaking crazy. So,
yeah.
Well,
I still have yet to finish on come up. I only saw the first.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, then you're definitely missing out. Get on that.
Yeah. But yeah, back to this though. I mean about Korea, but this event in particular, like Scorpio mentions, this is one of the things that this is the one thing he could always tell Hulk Hogan that he did. He's like, he wrestled in front of more people. He wrestled in front of 198,000 people for 2 nights in a row. And he's like, that's the only thing I have over him. But he's like, that's what And Bischoff said himself, he's like, Vince McMahon is probably irked that the biggest wrestling event was not WrestleMania and not held by him. He's like, now the fans might have been forced to be there, and they might not have been paying custom.
Right.
If you go on Wikipedia and you check out the biggest wrestler, he's in charge of.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's very, very true. You didn't get paid for it either, so it's an accomplishment. But is it really? Kudos to him.
But at least he owns it. Like at least he says straight up, he's like, the fans might have been forced to be there. They weren't paying custom. He was like, just like saying, he's like, hey, look at it. I still have it. My name's there.
No, that's valid.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. Like he actually owns it. He doesn't like sugarcoat. Like yeah, he's like, I have the biggest grossing event. Like no, he's sugarcoated. He said straight up that the fans were forced to. He said straight up they weren't paying customers. So he actually owns up that. Like yeah, it wasn't the high grossing event. He just goes by what it is, and he's just doing that in a troll way as well.
For sure. Absolutely.
He's just waiting that to take another jab at McMahon as he did, like to something that he did over McMahon, because like the 83 straight weeks of beating him in the ratings is definitely something that's nobody else has done ever.
Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, if you look at it, so first of all, day 2 was 170,000. Day 1 was 150,000. I wonder what happened with that 20,000 there. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you have gotten the same people to go to the same show? And after that is WrestleMania 32, 101,000. So, certainly missing by a bunch. And kudos to Eric Bischoff as well. All this was because he wanted to get Japanese. So this is when he started to become the president of WC, first of all.
Yeah.
So he wanted to start getting a repertoire with New Japan again. That was kind of one of his first tasks. So kudos to him making that happen. Antonio Anoki coming to Bischoff. Hey, what if we go to North Korea and do this? I have aspirations to kind of make this as a opportunity to give peace to North Koreans and the whole world and so on. Didn't work out so good. It turns out he lost his political battle when he went back to Japan. But worth a shot. If you can try to end a communist country and make them, a more civilized country, if you will, why not? You know what I mean? That kudos to Eric Bischoff. The man is an evil genius. With all that pressure, I still can't believe they thought of doing that. And shout out to Tony Anoki too, though. That's
yeah. Well,
dope.
this was a huge. I mean, this not gamble day, but I was say it's a huge opportunity as well to go into a place like Korea to do something like. I mean, I understand the risk he was taking, but it was also a huge danger. When Scott Norton talking to some Japanese guys, I think he was talking to Chono, he's like, they don't like us down there. They want to kill us down there.
And that's it. So I'm shocked any Japanese wrestlers really went. But I guess that's kind of the risk. You're going to be performing for them, so maybe that's kind of their way of saying, "Ha, we're better than you." You know what I mean? You're performing for us. But yeah, I'm glad everyone out made it alive. Scott Norton almost didn't, but he did.
I'm sure when he got home, he kissed his wife right over.
Straight up, he didn't leave that house for a full week.
He probably just gave her the biggest hug and just kissed her and cried 20.
Well, I imagine doing something like that humbles you, though. You feel grateful for what you do have, because that I'm sure was scary for everyone involved. Being watched like that.
Well, because just imagine being his wife. You don't know what happened at the moment he said that, the line and you don't hear him for the rest of the trip.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. She was probably flipping out. She was probably trying to get a hold of everybody. Hey,
so
where's Scott?
That's why I'm saying they probably just held on to each other for 20 minutes straight in tears because of she could have thought she doesn't know what happened. Just he knows what that he fucked up, but know exactly because she wasn't able to follow up with him about what happened. So.
No, that's it. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's what it was definitely an emotional moment that they would have had.
So,
but I mean,
how would you rank this?
I mean, I on what, are we a scale of 5 or?
Well, I mean, I guess a scale of 5, but how would you rank this? I was more referring to in terms of the 3 episodes we have seen on season 3.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say, it's out of all of them, it's interesting. I mean, because Brian told about his life, different events that he's experienced throughout his life, and Nick Gage, the same thing, experiences throughout a guy's career. That's just about many guys experience with one event. I mean, it did show me though about Bischoff didn't even know about the fight between Hawk and till that moment. So I asked him, he was like, "So did you ever hear about the fight between Phil and Hawk?" He's like, "Oh, not until now." Yeah.
Why would you know, right? Sure, they didn't try fighting when he was around.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying the fact that it was cool to hear about not cool. I'm saying it was interesting to hear stories about the Bischoff jogging story, to hear about the attendants, to hear about their passports taken away, their walk music taken away, the limited the no entertainment that they had while they were there, and just hearing all those different the fights that Scorpio and Hawk had, hearing all those different things was just a little interesting. But in regards to an episode, like I said, the other episodes that we've seen multiple events about one perspective. This was several people's perspective about one event. but you still can't get a lot of people because some people have passed away and some people are under contract. Like Ric Flair can't get his perspective because he's still with WWE, and if he did, he'd want to be on good graces about it. And for example, yeah, like Benoit's passed away.
I'm sure Flair could have, though.
No,
Like,
but,
I don't think.
No, but I mean, like, I don't think you can participate in Dark Side of the Ring if you're under WWE contract.
But he's on a Legends contract, though. He's not on, like, I think. He's not, like, on a full-fledged wrestler's contract.
Okay, well, I don't know if they're allowed to or not, but a lot of people who have been under Legends contract, I don't think that Dark Side.
Fair. No, that's, I doubt it. No, I guess not.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, like, I don't see Sergeant Slaughter doing episodes of Dark Side. But you'll see people like Jacques Rougeau. That's what I mean. Like Rougeau's not under a Legends contract, so
right.
People like Slaughter, people like that are. But one person till this day, I love topic on Jacques Rougeau's contract. I don't know why. He's no legend, but why does the Boogeyman have a Legends contract?
I guess Vince really likes him. That's why.
That was the creepiest gimmick ever. I'm the Boogeyman and I'm coming to get you.
I'm the Boogeyman. I'm coming to get you.
Eating worms that were actually real life worms. Like those weren't gimmick, but yeah, that's apparently. Well, we all know apparently Vince loves bathroomers, so
that's it.
Like I remember, like he's gonna puke. He's gonna puke. Apparently, when there were fart jokes, apparently Vince McMahon laughed his ass off. Like, Vince McMahon wanted to do is say that he's the biggest event. I mean, the biggest event until WrestleMania was probably the event in Wembley Stadium, SummerSlam.
Yeah. I mean, you know, who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe this will actually get to Vince and be like, hey, Vince, Eric Bischoff is still ribbing you. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think Vince will care. Be like, well, yeah, I mean, if we go to any dictatorship, you know, I'm pretty sure I can get the same amount of people to force to be there. But at the end of the day, I got 101,000.
Yeah, but what are the odds of Vince being able to strike a deal with Kim Jong?
Honestly, I wouldn't put it past Vince.
Okay, well, first of all, Vince likes some money, so I don't think he would accept losing money unless he was given a crown jewel type thing event down. I think he would need to be paid. And second of all, during this time, I think WWE would be leaving the country in the near future.
No. Well, I mean, more probably the near future. I say next year they do some crazy stuff. For sure.
But I mean them going to strike a deal in the near future. I mean, traveling.
Oh, no.
Like that. I can see them doing shows in like Canada or maybe honoring their Saudi Arabia deal, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like in regards, like in Japan or China, places where Asia, no offense, but that's where it originated from. That's where those countries. So I think WWE would want to stay away from those countries, especially since those countries are still red hot as well.
Well, yes and no. I think it's really the worst country right now is facing the pandemic is India. So, I mean, look, they don't do much traveling anyways that far unless it's to Saudi Arabia or they randomly do a show in the UK or stuff like that. So I don't think we necessarily have anything to worry about. I don't think Vince would ever do anything with North Korea again, unless it's some crazy Saudi Arabia deal like that.
Because like Japan doesn't have stadiums that can fit that many inside.
Right. Well, I mean, how much does the
baseball stadium? I think seats like 6,000+.
Oh snap! Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, Pride had events at baseball stadium where they used the floor at, and it was like I think like 65,000 people or something they had.
Damn. Okay.
But then again, I mean, Montreal had 65,000 for the Grey Cup, and that's without using the entire floors.
This is true. Yeah. That's
but
valid.
then again, you don't know how many place a set can take as well, because there's the set, so there's a lot of stuff that you have to that can be perspective as well. But still, what I'm trying to say is like, yeah, North Korea had a place that like quadruples that almost, or triples it.
Or triples it, yeah.
Yeah, triples it is more realistic towards it. But yeah, they're able to do that there. I mean, just force people to go there, like those events that we're talking about, people to go to, just forced. Right. But I mean, still. Scorpio said it was an experience just to look out there and see all those people out there. They might not know what they're watching, but they are watching you.
That's it. So, yeah,
like
pretty cool.
It's definitely cool, but it's definitely shocking at the same time. You're also not used to not getting whenever you're doing something.
I wonder if Muhammad Ali ever spoke about North Korea and going there. I read a documentary and he didn't bring it up in his
I read one of his document. I've seen the movie with Will Smith and never brought those up.
Well, I mean, I know, but the guy has done so much, right? So,
But then again, the book that I read was about his life until the book ended pretty much his boxing career ended.
okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah, and same thing with and the movie with Muhammad Ali, the movie with Will Smith, the Ali with Will Smith, that one actually ended right after he beat Foreman for the title. So that's another. But probably because it's not a highlight.
No, but it's still something interesting, right? Like, it wouldn't be in a movie. It won't be. I might be like randomly in an interview somewhere, like the journalist brings it up. So you went to North Korea in 1995. How was that? Because still, Americans going into North Korea is a pretty big deal. You know, it doesn't have to be about the wrestling. So very curious. I doubt it, maybe, but
now that you bring it up,
very
I'm actually gonna search for some news on Muhammad Ali that he actually ever talked about.
yeah, that's it. I would really be interested. I mean, knowing him, not knowing him, but knowing how he presents himself, I doubt he would really say all that much anyways.
Yeah, because like he's one of the first like boxing personalities, like in regards to like seeing like before when it's just a boxer, you're like, I like this guy because he's knocking people out. But when it was Muhammad Ali, you got this guy because he's talking smack, and he was like the personality that boxing really had.
That's it. Exactly.
And that's why
so,
Muhammad Ali's style was pro wrestling.
no, it would have been absolute. Imagine if Vince. Well, I mean, I guess he did.
Let's say if he didn't have
WrestleMania
Parkin,
1.
yeah, but let's say that he didn't have Parkin to be able to like the way Tyson Fury had his or how Cain Velasquez.
Right. Exactly. That,
Because like Tyson has that. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have Mayweather or Conor McGregor or Diaz brothers, like people like talking smack in big time sports. If it wasn't for people like that, if it wasn't for Ali, we wouldn't have like.
for sure, absolutely. That, and I don't think any of those guys would say anything different.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like, no matter a respectful guy, a smack talker, fighter, a lot of people will always pay respect.
You have to. He's the guy that did it all and paved the way for you. So if you disrespect him, then you're just, probably Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, but how do you rank it though? Because you asked me how I ranked it. Do you rank it?
No, that's fair. Honestly, I think it's probably the least favorite of mine for this season. It was fine. It was cool. Interesting, if you will. I just felt like it didn't need to be a whole episode. I was hooked on TV. It is very interesting, but at the same time, like, kind of.
I think I think pretty much one thing they could do maybe for future is like do like I don't want to say half episode, like have like a 2-for-1 type. Do like half talk about one story and half talk about like another episode. Like cut it into two types. This could have been done like that.
Maybe they could have just given us more when they did come back, I guess, but maybe a lot of the wrestlers just kind of, wanted to forget about what happened in North Korea, sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe when they're on the plane as well, but and talk about. So we're not going to talk about this. We could bring up this, but let's never bring up all these things that we don't know.
Right, for sure, and that'll be I guess maybe we'll never know.
And then. But then again, also it's not something they want to as well. Like when they got off the plane, they probably just wanted to just forget that whole event that ever took place.
I'm also like even Ric Flair, you know what I mean? Like I just kind of wish if you're gonna have just those people talk, like I wish it would have been everyone. I get why it wasn't.
You always hear Flair did this, Flair did that. Well, I want to hear Flair tell us.
Yeah, that's it exactly. So. That would be very interesting. I'm surprised
especially like the brawl between Hawk and Scorpio. Flair went out like how he reacted to what Scorpio called him out.
Yeah, no, that would have been interesting too. I think I think at this point it sounded like a lot of the wrestlers weren't a fan of Too Cold Scorpio though.
Yeah.
Like I think they felt like Too Cold Scorpio was a cocky individual,
Yeah, well, because like Scott Norton said that Scorpio was eating up Hawk, and he did. Scott Norton said he felt that it was due to hepatitis and the fact that he was on something flu-like symptoms. He felt like it was Hawk at 100% Hawk would have finished him, but it's not about that. I feel like that just showed people as well that Scorpio wasn't someone to be screwed with. Showed someone that he's a badass. He can throw down.
No, and at the same time, I mean, if you're gonna do that excuse as well, look, he was weak with hepatitis and so on. I don't know. They're both idiots. In reality, Hawk's probably dumb for, you know, going after Too Cold Scorpio when he knows he's weak and so on. Like, you could have gotten yourself more hurt. I get it. You know, maybe the guy was egging you on. It was a bit annoying. But I mean, it was entertaining to me, but it was honestly a bit childish. I got Too Cold Scorpio's part in that. Like, you know, like I get him. He wants to just defend his own kind of thing. He doesn't want to back down. Cool story. But man, wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's why he wanted to settle in Japan. But like, what they have to say, like, it's stubborn. I'm stubborn as well. Like, sometimes, like, people always want to have the final. Like, he sucker punched me. He's like, okay, can't show anyone that I'm not going to retaliate.
That's
so
it.
Yeah, it is childish, but at the same time, like, I get it. I'm stubborn when it comes to certain events, so I mean, I can understand like why he does it, but it is something that I find it's like, even when I do it afterwards, I'm like, yeah, that was. But I guess you don't. In the heat of the moment, you act differently because you're just reacting without even thinking about it.
That's it, exactly. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So those are kind of like our opinion, our thoughts. Any, I guess, kind of final things?
No, that's pretty much it. But why don't you tell everyone's next episode's coming up?
Yeah, so guys, it's Warrior time. It's Becoming Warrior. That's the next episode. That's, I mean, I feel like I know everything about the Ultimate Warrior to an extent.
But we heard what Doug tell us, probably.
That too, and I hope Eric Bischoff is on it and he talks about the whole Warrior speech in WCW again, because that speech was god awful.
I heard.
Well, it legit was like 20 minutes long. It was crazy.
Just rambling on and on and on.
Just rambling on.
One guy made a joke. He's like, on a cold October night, sometimes still hear Warrior rambling on.
Yeah, no, it was funny. Like, I did it for a botch-along, a wrestling botch-along thing with and whew. So
here, I'll give you something to watch. I'll give you Sid Vicious's promo with PCO US.
Oh, Jesus, still on that, huh?
You'll watch that promo, and that's a good botch-along thing.
Oh, Jesus, really anything Sid Vicious in a promo is a botch-along. He's just so bad. Like, he doesn't...
The commentators even said, "Work, you guys watch this on your own, taking a break for now. You guys enjoy this." The commentators even said that. Yes, so, like, you guys enjoy this promo that's going to go on and stuff.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah,
you know it's bad.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's something I'm looking forward to because of like my top 5 visitors of all time. Like, he was like Shawn Michaels was my first favorite wrestler, but Warrior was my first favorite like big guy wrestler. Like, I wasn't a Hogan guy, I wasn't a Macho Man guy, I wasn't I wasn't a Snuka guy. I was a Warrior. Like, that was big guy. Like, HBK, like I said, was my favorite wrestler always. But in regards to the big guys like that, the larger personalities, Warrior was always like. When I saw him beat Hogan, I mean, it wasn't live. What back used to do is like sleep over at somebody's place on a Friday night. We'd go to Videotron and rent like an old school WrestleMania. Like, we started off from like WrestleMania, and then we'd rent WrestleMania 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we got to Hogan vs. Warrior. At the time, we didn't know what happened. We were watching, we were live, so like just reacting because we didn't know what happened. The internet wasn't around.
Nope, valid.
Yeah, so we just went to go see that. We just rented out, watched that. Like, we were excited. Like, we're all like, "Oh, who do you think win, Warrior or Hogan?" Like, yeah, Hogan wasn't. I think Hogan was in WWF at the time.
Snap. Okay, yeah. So that would have definitely been really interesting to see. Yeah, no, fair enough. So I'm looking forward to that, seeing the non-WWE side of things. So that should always be fun. We'll probably watch the Warrior DVD that WWE did put out, just so I can get the WWE side a bit more. But I don't know. I guess I'm kind of. I think maybe the problem why the Collision in Korea didn't work, or was all right, is just because they kind of do these crazy stories on a specific person, and it's so much more in depth. I guess the Collision in Korea kind of just falls flat because of how it's also a very kind of serious matter and can get a lot of people in trouble. So
Yeah, controversial.
you know.
Warrior is definitely someone that everybody who's a fan of wrestling knows. A person that's definitely a big chunk of wrestling is owed to him as well. He owes a lot. He owed a lot of it to wrestling as well. But there's also stories. His public speaking, his what was it called again? His comic book where apparently he sodomizes Santa Claus.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, there's a picture of him sodomizing Santa Claus apparently in the comic. And I don't know if you heard about it, but like apparently he said queering doesn't make the world work.
Wow.
He said that at a public speaking event. And here's the irony of that. His final match was against a very open, well-known bisexual. His final match was against Jordan.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Yeah, so he said
What
queering
are the
doesn't make
odds?
the world work, and that's who his final match.
Well, I mean, you know, whatever gets him paid, right?
It was actually in Barcelona, of all places, to wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of WWE ever doing an event in Spain or Italy or anywhere like that.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I've never.
Like,
No,
you hear-
I
you
don't
hear-
think so.
You hear of the UK or Japan or China, and that's it.
That's it. Oh, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's an American company. They are known worldwide, but or India technically. They did a show, or they're planning. I think they're planning
Well,
to do a show. Yeah.
And they do tribute to the troops in Iraq.
In Iraq and so on. You know, it's hard, right? I mean, you're one freaking company. You know, it does take a lot of toll on the wrestlers. So you're gonna really want to make sure it does benefit you if you're gonna do like a crazy trip like that. Speaking of trips, you know, might as well be worth saying they definitely will be going around the United States more often now because July 16th, live WWE live events are back, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, just something to point out there. Hopefully the WWE product gets better because you're going to start noticing tickets still won't be selling and they're going to have to resort back to the Thunderdome.
Well, not just that, also maybe it'd be better because of the boos are not going to be silent anymore.
That's true too. That's very valid. Yeah.
Well, one thing
Makes a lot of sense.
One thing WWE really saved their ass is during the zombie segment for the Thunderdome that they had, they did not show the audience. They had that as in like zombie, and that was probably if the audience was gonna shit on it.
At the same time, they could have used older footage for the Thunderdome too, just for that specific section, you know. But yeah, good call on them. They got $1 million to do that though. So at the end of the day, you know, I probably would have done the same thing. It was really bad. I'm sure WB didn't realize like, oh, we're gonna, you know.
Well, I heard Bray Wyatt tweeted and said, "Zombies, miss me yet?"
For sure.
Yeah.
But I mean,
thing altogether, but yeah, I think that's all outside the ring right now.
yeah, exactly. That's it. And where can they follow you, bud?
You can follow me at Mike514 UFC on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. I have my STS page, Shoot the Shit, and you can find me at Mike Tsintziras.
Boom, there we go. The links will be in the doobly-doos as usual. And you can follow me at personal page at JLB420 on Twitter. Or, you know, Real Talk Radio is the brand at Real Talk Radio 8, anchor.fm/RTR. And yeah, that's it. You know, all the links will be down below. Wherever podcast platform you listen, it will certainly be available there. And that's pretty much it. Mike, thanks again. It has been another interesting episode of Dark Side of the Ring. And I look forward to going Warrior batshit crazy with you next week, because that should be a telling one. And yeah, that is it. So until next time, we will see you for the next Dark Side review next week. Until then, ciao for now.